You're not gonna believe what they asked me after graduation dinner. I said it out loud to no one, just my reflection in the bathroom mirror of my tiny studio apartment. My cap and gown were still hanging over the doorknob, limp and wrinkled like they already knew what was coming. My name's Peyton. I'm 28 now, but this happened 6 years ago, the night I graduated college. I should have been celebrating. Instead, I was staring into a mirror, trying to process how my parents had managed to turn my biggest achievement into their next financial scheme. It started at dinner. We went to this overpriced steakhouse downtown, the kind with gold lettering on the menus and waiters who call you Miss like it's a threat. Frank, my dad, ordered a $200 bottle of wine, like it was water. My mom, Yesenia, wore a pearl necklace I'd never seen before. To our brilliant daughter, Frank toasted, raising his glass. The first in the family to get a degree. We're so proud of you, sweetheart. I smiled, a little caught off guard. He wasn't usually the sentimental type. Yes, my mom chimed in. We always knew you'd do something special. So responsible, so smart. That's why we need your help with something. There it was. The shift. I felt it before I even heard the words. Frank cleared his throat. We've found a place, a villa, retirement style, out in the hills. Gorgeous view, pool, the works, and we're ready to settle down. That's great, I said, trying to match their energy, though my stomach was already tightening. It's listed at 1.2, he said. I blinked. Million? Yes, my mom said, like I'd asked if water was wet. It's a steal, really. Frank leaned in. The bank says we need a cosigner. Just a formality. Your credit's stellar, and with your new job lined up, it'll breeze right through. We'll handle the payments, of course. I stared at them, fork frozen mid-air. You want me to co-sign $1 million mortgage? It's not like you're paying for it, my mom said, laughing lightly. It's just paperwork. And we raised you, Frank added, like that sealed the deal. I looked down at my plate. The steak I'd ordered rare was now a cold, red puddle. I felt like I was drowning in it. You don't have to decide tonight, my mom said sweetly. But the offer won't last forever. We'd hate to lose it. They pulled out a brochure from her purse, glossy photos of a stucco mansion with arched doorways and an infinity pool. I hadn't even gotten my diploma yet, and they were handing me a pen. I didn't say yes that night, but I didn't say no either, and with them, silence was always taken as agreement. A week later, we were at the bank. I sat across from a guy named Douglas, who wore a tie with coffee stains, and didn't look up once while flipping through the paperwork. Just sign here, here, and here, he mumbled. I hesitated, pen hovering. Frank put a hand on my shoulder. Trust me, kiddo, this is family. We'd never screw you over. I signed. The next day, they posted a picture on Facebook. Them standing in front of the villa, arms around each other, champagne in hand. The caption read, "Our dream come true, couldn't have done it without our sweet benefactor Peyton. And family first. Blessed." They tagged me. I was in my apartment when I saw it. No furniture yet, just a mattress on the floor and a box of instant ramen on the counter. My phone buzzed with likes and comments. Relatives congratulating them. Friends asking me if I was moving into the mansion too. I didn't reply. Instead, I sat on the floor, back against the wall, and stared at the screen until it went black. That was the first time I felt it, the flicker of something under my ribs. Not anger, not yet. Just a quiet, sharp awareness that something had shifted. That maybe I wasn't the one being celebrated. Maybe I was the one being used. But I still told myself it was fine. That it was temporary. That they'd make the payments, like they promised. I should have known better. That night, I boiled water on the stove and dropped in a block of ramen. No seasoning, just noodles and silence. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just ate, alone, while my parents toasted to a life they couldn't afford in a house I'd never even see. And that was only the beginning. Is that caviar? I squinted at the photo on my phone, the one my mom had just posted. A silver spoon balanced delicately on her manicured fingers, a tiny black mound glistening on top. The caption read, "Brunch at sea level, because why not? Spoil yourself? Villa life." I was in the break room at work, chewing on a peanut butter sandwich that had been in my bag since yesterday. The crust was stale. My phone buzzed again. Another post. This time, my dad lounging beside a pool with a glass of something orange and bubbly. Behind him, the villa's marble columns gleamed in the sun. "Your parents live there?" Hugh asked, leaning over my shoulder. "Yeah," I said, shoving my phone into my pocket. "They're living the dream." He raised an eyebrow. "Didn't you say you co-signed that house?" I nodded, taking another bite of the sandwich. "And they're in France now?" But you're here, eating whatever that is." "Peanut butter." He gave me a look. "Girl." "It's fine," I lied. "They're making the payments." He didn't say anything, but I could feel his judgment radiating off him like heat from a toaster. 4 years. That's how long it went on. Them living like royalty. Me working overtime and budgeting like I was still in college. I never missed a shift. I skipped vacations, turned down happy hours, and learned to make a week's worth of meals out of lentils and rice. And every week, like clockwork, came the posts. "New kitchen remodel. Finally got the marble counters we deserve." "Santorini sunsets hit different when you've earned them." "No filter. Family is everything. Thanks again to our sweet Peyton for making this possible." They never stopped tagging me. At first, I tried to laugh it off. Then, I stopped checking altogether. But people still sent me screenshots. Co-workers, cousins, even old classmates. "You're so lucky your parents have that place. Your mum's Instagram is hilarious. She's like a real housewife." "Do you get to visit often?" I didn't. Not once. The worst was the group chat. It was supposed to be for family updates. But mostly, it was my mom and dad showing off. My sister Laurel would chime in with the occasional, "So jealous," or "You two are goals." I mostly stayed quiet. Then one day, a message popped up while I was at work. It was from my dad. "Gotta love that our own daughter eats lentils so mommy and daddy can soak in Santorini." Huh? I stared at it, confused. Then another message came in. "Oops. Meant to send that to your mother. Sorry, Peyton. LOL." I didn't reply. I didn't cry either. I just closed my laptop, walked to the bathroom, and locked the stall door. Then I sat on the toilet lid and stared at the wall until my break was over. That night, I opened a new notebook and started writing. Date, expense, location, screenshot, every trip, every remodel, every brunch, every bottle of wine that cost more than my weekly grocery bill. I wasn't sure why I was doing it. Maybe to prove to myself I wasn't crazy. Maybe to keep a record in case something went wrong. Or maybe because some part of me already knew it would. One night Laurel called me. I almost didn't answer. "Hey," she said. "Just checking in." "Everything okay?" Yeah. Just, Mom said you've been distant." I laughed. "Distant?" She tagged me in a post this morning. "I feel very included." Laurel sighed. "You know how they are." "Yeah, I do." There was a long pause. Then she said, "They're not trying to hurt you, Peyton." "I know," I said. "They're just not trying not to." She didn't respond to that. I kept journaling. Every time they posted another trip, I logged it. Every time they bragged about the villa, I wrote down the upgrades. I even started tracking the dates of their mortgage payments. When they were due, when they were paid. It was petty. I knew that. But it made me feel like I had some control. Then came the day I realized I didn't. I was at my desk sipping instant coffee when my phone buzzed. It was a forwarded message from my cousin Solstice. Thought you should see this. Attached was a screenshot from the group chat, one I wasn't in. My mom, my dad, Laurel, Frank. We need to start prepping Peyton. Maybe invite her over, soften her up. Yesenia. She's such a buzzkill, always acting like we owe her something. Laurel. Just be honest. If it's temporary, she'll understand. Frank. Temporary or not, she's family. She'll help. She has to. I stared at the screen until the text blurred. Then I stood up, walked to the office kitchen, and dumped my coffee down the sink. They were planning something. I didn't know what yet, but I knew one thing for sure. They weren't going to ask. They were going to take. My phone rang at 7:42 a.m. on a Wednesday. I was halfway through brushing my teeth, already dressed for work. I saw the name flash on the screen. Dad. I let it ring. It stopped, then started again. I spat into the sink, wiped my mouth, and answered. Hello? Peyton! Frank's voice boomed like it was already the middle of the day. We've hit a little snag. I blinked. What kind of snag? There was a pause. The mortgage. We've missed a couple payments. I leaned against the bathroom door frame. A couple? 3, he admitted. But it's just a temporary thing. We had some unexpected expenses. The pool pump needed replacing, and your mother's dental work. I cut him off. You need me to pay it? No, he said quickly. Just cover this bump. We'll reimburse you. It's not even about the money. It's about keeping the bank happy. You know how they are. I stayed quiet. Come on, Peyton. You know we've always had your back. I actually laughed. When? He didn't like that. His tone shifted. Don't start with the attitude. We're family. You co-signed because you believed in us. No, I said. I co-signed because you pushed me into it. Now. He was pissed. You're being dramatic. We raised you, fed you, clothed you. This is how you repay us? I held the phone away from my ear for a second, then brought it back. I'll think about it. You don't have time to think, he snapped. We're already getting notices. I'll call you later, I said, and hung up. 10 minutes later, I was in the elevator at work, still shaking. I walked straight to Hugh's desk. You busy? I asked. He looked up from his screen. Always. What's up? I sat down across from him. They defaulted. 3 payments. They want me to cover it. He blinked. They what? Yeah. He leaned forward. Peyton, that's serious. That's not just a bump. That's foreclosure territory. I know. He lowered his voice. What are you going to do? I stared at the floor. I co-signed, but I never actually read what I signed. He frowned. What do you mean? I just mean, I trusted them. I didn't look at the details. Maybe I should. He nodded slowly. You want help? No, I said. I want to do it myself. That night, I went home, pulled the fireproof box from under my bed, and opened it. Inside was the original mortgage packet, still in its manila envelope, still smelling like bank air and printer toner. I sat cross-legged on the floor and started reading, page by page, clause by clause. I didn't stop for dinner. I didn't check my phone. I just read. Around midnight, I found it. Clause 7.3. In the event of borrower default, and upon the co-signer assuming full payment responsibilities, ownership reassessment may be initiated. Upon legal approval, property control may transfer to the payer. I read it again. Then again. Then I sat back, heart pounding. They missed 3 payments. If I paid, and filed the right forms, I could take the house. I could take their house. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom. "Sweetie, can you please call Dad? He's stressed. We're counting on you." I didn't answer. I opened my laptop, logged into the bank portal, and checked the payment history. 3 red marks. 3 missed payments. I clicked on Make a Payment. Then I stopped. My hand hovered over the mouse. I whispered, "Let's see what happens when boring plays the game right." I didn't pay that night, but I started planning. The next morning, I walked into work early. Hugh was already there, sipping coffee. "I found something," I said. He looked up. "What?" I slid the papers across his desk. "Clause 7.3. He read it. Twice. Then he looked at me. "You're serious?" I nodded. "They defaulted. If I take over, I can trigger reassessment. I can take the house." He leaned back in his chair. "You'd actually do it?" "They've been using me for 4 years," I said. "Mocking me, living off me. And now they want me to clean up their mess again." He didn't say anything. "I'm not doing this out of spite," I added. "I'm doing it because I'm done." He nodded slowly. "Okay. Then let's make sure you do it right." I smiled. "I already started." He looked impressed. "What do you need from me?" "Help double-checking the paperwork. I want everything airtight." He held up his coffee. "To vengeance." I raised an imaginary glass. "To consequences." That night, I made the first payment. Quietly. No calls, no texts, just a number on a screen, followed by a confirmation email. Step 1. I was calm. Too calm, because something inside me had finally snapped, and it felt like freedom. The envelope was thicker than I expected, legal-sized, crisp, and heavy with the weight of consequences. I laid it flat on my kitchen table like it might explode if I opened it too fast. "Okay," I whispered. "Let's see what you've been hiding." I slit it open with a butter knife and pulled out the original mortgage contract, along with the full addendum packet. I'd requested it from the bank's records department the day after I made the first payment. They overnighted it. Clause 7.3 was there. Same wording, same loophole. I took a picture of the page and sent it to Hugh. "Me. Found it again. It's real." Hugh. "Damn. Want me to look over the rest?" Me. "Already halfway through. I'll call you if I hit anything weird." I spent the next 3 hours at my kitchen table, highlighter in one hand, pen in the other. I made notes in the margins, circled phrases, drew arrows. By the time I finished, the contract looked like a crime scene. I wasn't just reading it this time, I was dissecting it. At 11:47 p.m., I picked up my phone and dialed the bank's customer service line. I knew it would be routed to voicemail. "Hi, this is Peyton. I'm the co-signer on the mortgage for the property at 2146 Langdon Terrace. I've assumed the last 3 payments and would like to initiate an ownership reassessment under Clause 7.3. Please confirm next steps. I'll follow up with documentation via email." I hung up and immediately typed out the email. Attached payment receipts, scanned the clause, labeled everything clearly. The cursor hovered over send. I stared at it, then clicked. A second later, it was gone. Sent. I sat back in my chair and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. No going back now. The next morning, I was brushing my teeth when my phone buzzed. New email, mortgage department. Confirmation received. I opened it with shaking hands. "Dear Ms. Peyton, we have received your request for ownership reassessment per Clause 7.3 of your mortgage agreement. Your application is under review. You will be contacted within 5 to 7 business days." That was it. No fireworks, no alarms. Just a quiet, bureaucratic green light. I took the bus to work like it was any other day, sat at my desk, answered emails, ate my usual sad desk salad. But inside, Something was shifting. That night, I called a real estate attorney. Her name was Lila. She sounded calm, efficient, and completely unfazed when I explained the situation. "You've got a strong case," she said. "If they've defaulted and you've made the payments, Clause 7.3 is enforceable. You'll need to file a formal reassignment form and notify the primary borrowers." "Do I have to tell them first?" "No, but once the reassignment is approved, they'll be notified by mail. You'll also need to sign a declaration of financial assumption. I can draft that for you." "Do it," I said. She chuckled. "You're not playing around." "Not anymore." The paperwork came 2 days later. I signed everything, scanned it, and sent it back. Hugh dropped by my apartment that night with takeout and a bottle of wine. "Celebrating early?" he asked, holding up the bag. "Not celebrating," I said. "Just fueling up." He set everything down on the counter. "How's it feel?" "Like I'm finally steering the car instead of being dragged behind it." He nodded, then handed me a container of noodles. "You know there's going to be fallout, right?" "Oh, I'm counting on it." He gave me a look. "I mean real fallout. Screaming. Guilt trips. Maybe even lawyers." "I've got lawyers now, too." He smirked. "You've changed." "I've woken up." We ate in silence for a bit, the kind of silence that feels earned. Then he said, "Do you want them out? Like, actually out of the house?" I didn't answer right away. "I want them to know what it feels like," I said finally. "To have something they thought was untouchable taken away. To realize I'm not their safety net anymore." He nodded slowly. Then, "You're almost there." The next morning, I got the email. Subject: Change of ownership initiated. Dear Ms. Payton, your request for ownership reassessment has been approved. You are now the primary controlling party of the mortgage for 2146 Langdon Terrace, effective immediately. I stared at the screen, then I laughed. Just once, sharp and short. I forwarded the email to Lila, then I called the courier service. "I need a legal notice delivered," I said. "Same day, signature required." The guy on the phone asked for the address. I gave it to him. "Who's the recipient?" "My parents," I said. "It's their house." There was a pause. "Got it," he said. "We'll get it there by 5 p.m. I hung up. Then I sat down, opened a blank document, and typed the cover letter. To Frank and Yesenia, due to your default on the mortgage and my subsequent assumption of payments, I am now the legal controlling party of the property at 2146 Langdon Terrace. Please direct all future correspondence to me or my attorney. You may remain in the residence pending further notice, but please be advised that your occupancy is now subject to my terms. Regards. Payton. I printed it, signed it, and sealed it in an envelope. Then I waited. At 4:52 p.m., my phone buzzed. Courier delivered. Signature confirmed. I stood by the window, watching the sky darken. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I felt like the storm. I didn't answer their calls. Not the first one, not the fifth, not the one that came at 2:13 a.m. with no voicemail, just a missed call and a name I knew too well. The silence was intentional. Let them stew. Instead, I focused on the next steps. Lila sent over a draft of the new occupancy agreement. It was clean, professional, and cold in all the right ways. I read it twice, then forwarded it to the bank and requested a certified copy be added to the mortgage file. I was in full execution mode now. Hugh came by again that Saturday, laptop under one arm, coffee in the other. Ready to lock this down? He asked, setting up at my kitchen table. Already halfway through, I said, flipping my screen to show him the spreadsheet I'd built. Every payment, every document, every time-stamped email. I want zero room for them to claim confusion. He whistled. You could teach a class on revenge logistics. I shrugged. I've had 4 years to practice. He scrolled through the files, nodding. Okay, so what happens now? They'll get the formal notice next week. I'm giving them time to process the courier delivery before I hit them with the legal occupancy terms. Think they'll fight it? Maybe. But they can't afford a lawyer. Not with the mortgage in default and no savings. And if they do? I looked him in the eye. Then I fight back harder. He leaned back, arms crossed. You really don't feel bad? I paused. I feel focused. That night, I lit a candle, poured a glass of wine, and opened my journal. Not the one with their expenses. This one was different. This one was personal. I wrote down everything I remembered from the past 4 years. Every time they mocked me. Every time they made me feel like less because I chose ramen over rosé, I needed to remember why I was doing this. Monday morning, I got the email from Lila. Subject: Notice of legal occupancy terms. Delivered. Attached was a PDF of the signed acknowledgement. My parents had received it, read it, and now they knew. I waited. It didn't take long. That afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Peyton. It was my mom. Her voice was tight, like she'd been crying or screaming. Yes! What is this? She snapped. This notice? This letter? You're saying we have to pay you now? No, I said calmly. I'm saying you have to pay the mortgage. To me. Or move. You wouldn't do this to your own family. I almost laughed. No, but you did. There was a pause. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. You're punishing us. I'm protecting myself. From the background, I heard Frank shout, Put her on speaker. Then his voice boomed through the line. You think you're clever, huh? You think this makes you powerful? No, I said. The mortgage company thinks that. I just read what I signed. You should've. You little... I hung up. An hour later, Laurel texted me. Laurel. What's going on? Mum's hysterical. Dad's threatening to sue you. Me. Tell them to read Clause 7.3. Laurel. You're serious about this? Me. I already paid 3 months. I'm not paying for them to live rent-free. Laurel. They're saying you blindsided them. Me. They blindsided me 4 years ago. I'm just catching up. She didn't reply. The next day, I got a call from the bank. Douglas, the rep who'd handled the original mortgage, was on the line. Miss Peyton, I just wanted to confirm that we've updated the file to reflect your sole financial responsibility. As of now, you are the primary point of contact for all matters related to the property. Perfect, I said. Please make sure they can't make changes without my signature. Already done. I hung up and stared out the window. It was happening. I was in control. That Friday, I drafted the rent agreement, triple market value. Not out of spite, out of strategy. I knew they couldn't afford it. That was the point. I emailed it to them with a simple subject line. Occupancy terms, effective immediately. No message, no explanation. 2 hours later, my phone rang again. This time, it was Laurel. Can we talk? I sighed. About what? About what you're doing, about how this looks. To who? To the family. I laughed. Oh, the family that never invited me to holidays after I said no to wiring them money? That family? She was quiet. I'm not the villain here, Laurel. I'm just the one who finally said no. You could have handled it differently. I did handle it differently, for 4 years, and they took advantage of it every single time. They're still our parents. No, I said. They're your parents? Mine stopped acting like it a long time ago. She didn't respond. Let me guess, I added. They'll be calling the cousins next, spinning some sob story. They already have. Good. Let them. I've got receipts. I hung up. That night, I walked to the corner store and bought myself a pint of ice cream. Sat on the couch, ate it straight from the container. I wasn't celebrating. I was waiting. Because the real hit hadn't landed yet. But it was coming. The gate was open when I pulled up. I hadn't been to the villa before. Not once. Not even a drive-by. But I knew every inch of it from the photos. Yesenia's endless selfies by the fountain. Frank's cigar shots on the balcony. The kitchen remodel that cost more than my car. Now, I was here. The driveway curved like a smug little smirk. I parked at the bottom and walked up. The air smelled like jasmine and chlorine. Somewhere, a wind chime clinked lazily. I rang the doorbell. Footsteps. Then the door swung open. Frank stood there in a robe, coffee mug in hand, sunglasses on despite the overcast sky. He looked me up and down like I was a vacuum salesman. Well, well, he said. Look who decided to show her face. Morning, I said. He didn't move. Behind me, a car pulled into the driveway. A white sedan, the courier. Frank glanced over my shoulder. What's this? The courier stepped out, clipboard in hand. Delivery for Mr. and Mrs. Gardner? Frank hesitated. Yeah? The guy handed him a thick envelope. You've been served. Signature here, please. Frank's jaw clenched. What the hell is this? Legal notice, the courier said. Have a nice day. He walked back to his car like this was just another Tuesday. It probably was. Frank stared at the envelope like it might bite him. Yesenia appeared behind him, wrapped in a silk robe, hair in curlers. Who was that? Frank shoved the envelope into her hands. Ask your daughter. Her eyes narrowed. Peyton, what is this? I stepped forward. It's official. You defaulted. I paid. Clause 7.3 was triggered. I'm now the legal controlling party of this property. She blinked. You're what? I own the house. Frank barked a laugh. You can't be serious. Yes, I said. I can. You wouldn't do this to your own family, Yesenia shrieked. No, I said, calm as ever. But you did. She looked like I'd slapped her. Frank tore open the envelope and skimmed the letter. His face turned red. You think this makes you powerful? You think you've won? I think I stopped being your doormat. He stepped forward, chest puffed. You ungrateful little... Don't, I said, raising a hand. Don't finish that sentence. Yesenia's voice cracked. You're humiliating us. No, I said. You did that yourselves. I just put it on paper. They stood there frozen, like mannequins in a store nobody wanted to shop at. You have two options, I said. Start paying rent at the new rate, or leave. Yesenia's mouth opened and closed. We can't afford that. Not my problem. Frank stepped back, shaking his head. You'll regret this. You've burned a bridge. I didn't burn it, I said. I just stopped holding it up. I turned and walked down the driveway. The wind chime clinked again, like it was clapping for me. In the car, my hands were shaking. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt heavy. But I didn't look back. That night, I got a text from Laurel. Laurel, what did you do? Me. Serve them. It's official now. Laurel, you're going too far. Me. No, I finally went far enough. She didn't reply. 2 days later, I got a voicemail from Yesenia. Her voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying. Peyton, please. We didn't think it would come to this. We thought you understood. We thought you loved us. I deleted it. The bank sent confirmation of the ownership transfer. I forwarded it to Lila and filed it away. Then I waited. Weeks passed. No rent came in. No checks. No apologies. Just silence. Then one morning, I got a knock at my door. I opened it to find a man in a blue jacket holding a clipboard. Peyton? Yes? Here to post the vacate notice. Final step in the process. I nodded and led him to my car. We drove to the villa in silence. He was polite, professional, didn't ask questions. At the house, he walked up to the door, peeled off the backing of a bright orange sticker and slapped it right in the center of the glass. Notice to vacate. 30 days. I stood on the sidewalk and watched. A curtain twitched upstairs. The man turned to me. All done. Thanks, I said. He tipped his cap and left. I stood there a moment longer. The wind picked up. The sticker flapped slightly at the corners. Inside, I knew they were watching. But they didn't come out. I got in my car and drove home. That night, I found an envelope taped to my apartment door. No return address, just my name in Laurel's handwriting. Inside was a short note. We need to talk, before this gets worse. I sat on the couch, the paper in my lap, and stared at the wall. The house was mine. They were out of time. But the fallout, that was just beginning. Laurel showed up at my place the next day. No warning, no text, just a knock at my door around noon. I opened it to find her standing there in a charcoal blazer, sunglasses still on, like she'd just come from a funeral or a board meeting. Maybe both. Can I come in? She asked. I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, looking around like she'd never been there before, which she hadn't. First time in 6 years. You want water? I asked. No thanks. She sat down on the edge of my couch like it might bite her. You've been busy. I stayed standing. You left a note. She nodded. I figured it was better than a text. Depends on what you were trying to say. She took off her sunglasses and rubbed her eyes. They're a mess. You know that, right? I know. They're not eating. They barely talk to each other. Mom's convinced you're going to throw them out on the street. They had 30 days. They don't have anywhere to go. They had 4 years to prepare. Laurel looked up at me. You're really not going to let them stay? Not unless they pay rent. Triple market value. I already sent the terms. They can't afford that. That's not my fault. She leaned back, exhaling hard. You're not even angry anymore, are you? No, I said. I'm done being angry. This is just math now. She was quiet for a while. Then, you know the cousins are talking. I figured. They think you're cold. Let them. She looked at me. Really looked. You're not cold, Peyton. You're tired and hurt. But this is scorched earth. I didn't answer. She ran a hand through her hair. I'm not here to defend them. I know what they did. I saw it. She stopped. I thought maybe you'd stop before it got this far. I did stop, I said. For 4 years. I stopped asking for fairness. I stopped standing up for myself. I stopped living like my life mattered as much as theirs. And they took everything I gave and asked for more. Laurel's eyes filled, but she blinked fast. They're still our parents. They're your parents, I said. Mine used me. She stood up slowly. So that's it? They have until the end of the month. After that, the bank takes over enforcement. I won't even be involved. She walked to the door, then turned back. You know, I used to think you were just quiet, but now I think you were just waiting. I didn't say anything. She opened the door, paused. I hope this was worth it. And then she was gone. I sat down, alone in the silence. The next few weeks passed like molasses. No more calls, no more texts. Just a slow, heavy countdown. Then, one morning, I got an alert from the bank. Vacate notice enforced. Property cleared. I drove by the villa that afternoon. The gate was open again, but this time the driveway was empty. No cars, no music, no wind chimes. The windows were dark. The sticker on the door was gone, but the residue still clung to the glass like a scar. I got out of the car and walked up the steps. The door was locked. I didn't have a key yet. That would come next week, after the final inspection. I stood there for a while, staring at the place they once called their dream. I didn't feel victorious. I felt still. Back at my apartment, I found another envelope taped to my door. This one wasn't from Laurel. It was from the bank. Inside was the final ownership paperwork. All mine. A second sheet was folded behind it, a rental appraisal. Estimated value, $4,800 month. I could lease it, sell it, live in it, but I didn't want it. It felt like a trophy from a war I didn't want to win. I poured myself a glass of water and sat on the floor, legs crossed, staring at the ceiling. Then I picked up my phone and called Solstice. She answered on the first ring. Hey. Hey, I said. You busy? Not really. What's up? Want to grab dinner? There was a pause. Yeah, I'd love that. We met at a little Thai place near her apartment. She hugged me tight when she saw me. I heard, she said softly. I didn't want to say anything until it was over. Thanks. We ordered spring rolls and curry. She let me talk, let me vent, let me sit in silence when I needed to. At one point, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You did what no one else would. You stood up to them. I don't know if that makes me brave or just bitter. Maybe both, she said. But you're free now. That matters. That night, I went home and finally slept. No calls, no threats, no guilt, just quiet. And in the morning, for the first time in a long time, I woke up without dread. Just space, and the sound of nothing. The condo was small. 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, no pool, no marble. But the walls were mine, the keys were mine, and the silence inside didn't feel like punishment. It felt like peace. I stood in the kitchen, still in my hoodie and socks, stirring tea on the stove. The window was cracked open, letting in the sound of someone's dog barking 2 floors down. It was ordinary. Beautifully, blessedly ordinary. I'd closed on the condo 2 days after the villa was officially vacated. No fanfare, no announcement, just a wire transfer and a handshake with the agent. I didn't use a cent from the villa. That house was listed for sale the same week I got the keys to this place. I let the proceeds sit in a separate account, untouched, like a reminder of what I'd survived. A knock at the door pulled me out of the moment. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened it slowly. Solstice stood there with a grocery bag in her arms. I brought snacks. I stepped aside. You always bring snacks. Because you never have any, she said, brushing past me. You still living like you're broke? I'm living like I'm free. She grinned and started unloading chips, hummus, and a 6-pack of sparkling water onto the counter. You're hosting movie night, by the way. Didn't agree to that. You didn't have to. I decided. I rolled my eyes but smiled. You're bossy. Runs in the family. We both paused at that. She leaned against the counter. You heard from them? No. Nothing? I shook my head. Laurel sent me a text. Said they're staying with her for now. That's all I know. Huh. I don't need to know more. She nodded, then picked up a chip. You regret it? No, I said. But it wasn't fun. It wasn't satisfying like I thought it would be. You thought it'd feel like revenge. I thought it'd feel like justice. And now? It just feels like I stopped bleeding. She didn't say anything, just nodded and kept eating. Later, after we'd watched half a movie and both dozed off on the couch, I walked her to the door. Before she left, she turned and said, "You did something big. You broke the cycle." I didn't mean to be the one. Maybe that's why it worked. She hugged me tight. "Text me when you're up tomorrow. We'll go get pancakes." Deal. After she left, I stood in the hallway for a moment, listening to the quiet. Then I walked back inside, turned off the lights, and let the stillness wrap around me. The next morning, I was sipping tea by the window when my phone buzzed. One missed call. Mum. I stared at the screen. Then I pressed and held. Mute. The phone went quiet. I took another sip of tea. No photos, no captions, no villa, just me. And finally, space to breathe.